Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser. This is way too dark in the background. There we go, nice and bright.
Match
Back in
my eyes.
action after days away. It's like riding a bike. You can just like jump right on it, especially when you've done it for quite some time. But it's Wednesday. We are back in action. I am back to being number one. I'll be honest, I was in the teens, ranked 20th or something after the 24-hour. Nearly fell down the rankings, but I am glad to announce this Wednesday back up to number one ranking.
Nice.
His dad over here. And Gordo is with us, the number two. What's happening?
What's going on, guys? How are you? Yeah, I had the second practice for the 3 and 4-year-olds last night. So, Coach,
Ooh, how is that going for you?
How's that
Coach
going?
Dad. Oh, it's like I said last week. About as well. We've got 3 ballers, right? 3 kids that are pretty good, and I think they're gonna have to carry us for this season.
Here's a little scam that I will let you in on, and have coached many a good teams because of it. At the end of the season, you rate the kids. I don't know if that's how it is over there, but we were in Plainfield, so there's it's a huge league and a ton of teams and stuff. So at the end of the season, you rate all your players. Well, assuming Finn is going to be homeschooled in soccer, if you will, and be real good. So you basically what they do the next season is they give every team, I think it was out of 5, if I remember,
like equal.
So every team gets 1 5, 1 4, so many 3s, so many 2s. Well, normally like Layla and Jazz would be obviously like 5, like they would be ranked 5, not to brag, but they really kicked some ass when they were 4 or 5. But if you rank him a 2 or a 3, then you get another 5 and a 4 to play with them. I really, not only you kicked ass, it also helped actually their development because they were playing with somebody who they can pass with. Because I'm sure, right now it's just like a cluster of kids running around kind of thing. So when you have like a couple of 5s and 4s, then you can actually coach the game as opposed to
we introduced goal kicks. So I had to introduce what goal kicks were yesterday. So we're way down there. I'm not even thinking of ranking. I was like, does anyone know what happens when the ball goes out of bounds? And everyone said, yeah. And I said, what happens? And no one answered.
Okay.
They're like, you don't? Like, why are you asking us?
Smart ass kids.
Speaking of smart ass kids, John is with us. John, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, guys? Glad to be here. Just just enjoying the chaos as I've mentioned before the game, before the show.
Yes, I am back. I'll tell you guys what. I really thought it would be a lot easier than it was. This 24-hour thing. I really thought it was, I'm normally up till like 2, 3 in the morning kicking people's ass online throughout the world. So I figured, what's another 3, 4 hours? Then the game starts. Before you know it, it's 24 hours. I don't know if it was like looking at monitors for 24 hours straight.
Sitting.
And not only that, like sitting. Yeah, I did not realize that would be like butts hurting and shoulder hurting. Like you don't think when it's 24 hours, you only think about staying awake or whatever.
The fact that you had to maintain some level of conversation too at every single point, that's draining mentally, Tim. That is draining.
I mean, you have to be, I did not, that's why, the boys, thank you, Kazi filled in for me on Monday because yes, I did not want to talk for quite some time, but so this is 24 hours. You know why? Because the other 2 were aging rapidly compared to me. I think that's why I was looking younger towards the end. Bickley looked like he was around like 90, and then
he may have had COVID. Like there was a COVID scare there where he may actually have been on death's doorstep.
Overall, extremely successful. And I mean, we learned a lot as well. I think it was like a learning experience in terms of like things because we will make it an annual event, what we can do better, and stuff like, and not only what we can do better, it's just like Jesus. And like you guys jumped on, honestly. I mean, I was talking about this with my brother. If we didn't have multiple people constantly joining and getting us engaged and stuff. Goes back to what you're saying, John. Doing that for 24 hours is really difficult. But people jumping on and off, like changing the pace, giving different perspectives, topics, and stuff like that. My favorite was when you guys started talking Elden Ring.
And Gally had to freaking leave this.
Gally totally checked out. Good morning, Nick. Yes, but yeah, overall, like I say, extreme successful. Thanks to our sponsors again. There were so many generous people sponsoring ours and stuff like that. So extremely grateful for that. And don't forget though, this is still going on. Our GoFundMe. I'll actually take this off the screen so you can see the Q code there. If you scan the Q code, it will go to the GoFundMe, and it will go to the silent auction as well. So please take a few minutes. $1, $5 doesn't matter. They all add up. It's like $1,200 right now, and we did raise a lot throughout the show on the 24 hours. I think we started the morning with like $95 or something like that, and ended up with like $11.75. But yes, please take a second, whatever you can afford. $1, $5, $10, $100 would be the way to go. Suddenly my screen just changed. Okay, sorry. So by the way, the silent auction, this people is a freaking crime. Where is this? I was trying to find this, and I'm like, this is a crime. How is this a thing? This jersey right here that should be going for, I don't know, like $400-$500 or something.
Absolutely, right? Yeah.
Is at $120. So I mean
Jamie Carragher touched it. That's worth $120 just for Jamie to touch a shirt. I would imagine.
I mean, aren't jerseys like $80-$90 by themselves? There is a Robertson jersey right now. This is basically that auction. McAllister is moving on up. It's up to $170. Robertson is only $110. Henderson is $120. Jota is $135. And obviously some other really cool stuff in there as well. So
right now, I think the only one that's actually probably close to what it should be is the Champions League print of the old big ears.
It's this guy here, the one on the right. Yes,
it's probably about $50.
Yeah, I mean that's that's a donation from one like an artist that like we have the links I believe over there as well that you can check out their shop. But yes, hurry on over there. Let me get this off the screen. Go scan the Q code. I thought this was really funny this morning, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversation on this anyway.
So before we go there, Tim, the actual authentic home match jersey for this season is actually more expensive than what that 7-0 jersey is going at for right now. So just go for it, people.
What?
That is an absolute steal. Like right now, I'm looking at the Liverpool store, setting it to US dollars. A 24-25 home match jersey that's authentic is $156. That doesn't include tax and shipping yet.
Holy cow. Is that with a name or without a name?
Without a name and without any patches. So get on that, people. That is an absolute steal.
That is an absolute steal. It's kind of like the best hidden secret. I know like people like Sergi are just like waiting inside the bushes to jump in the last second over there. But
I'll say this. So my son's favorite color is orange, and he's also obsessed with Verge. So before the Euro started, I was going to get him a Netherlands kit with Virgil on the back. A youth small, like a youth 3, like extra small, just with Verge, no pants, no, not like the full kit wanker thing, just the shirt, $125.
Jesus.
For material that like he's probably going to grow out of by next summer.
Yes, so, and that's the problem with kids stuff, right?
Yeah, right now Jordan Henderson's signed authentic jersey is $120, and I couldn't get a Netherlands youth small for less than that.
It's an absolute steal, guys. Go for it. Like if it wasn't a payday week, it's not a payday week for me, so I'm not really kind of there. But then if it was, I'm gonna be like Sergi, just creeping up there.
Well, we're not taking the payments right away, by the way. So it's not the moment the auction is done, we're over there like knocking on the door. So just put it on a card or put in your bid. The 7-0 season reminds me of not qualifying for because it just happened. 10 years from now, if that's on your wall, I would think maybe not. Maybe it'll be better. But I highly doubt. I mean, this is of all time. 10 years from now, this is going to be the ass beating of a lifetime that we gave United, and you're gonna have a cool jersey that's not available anywhere else, signed by Jamie. So
they walked out in 60 minutes.
Right. No one's gonna remember that we missed the CL. Everyone's gonna remember that.
It's one of those like history things, right? Like it's almost like nobody remembers like the second kind of a deal. Like nobody's gonna remember that. But the 7-0, trust me, every United fan is going to remember. We will remember. My brother will remember. And that's like the biggest thing. I would love to have this thing because my brother actually he's coming over here on Thursday. Meet my nephew like physically for the first
He's just wearing the 7-0.
And I would love which the nephew is a Liverpool fan, so he's found the right way despite my brother. Nice. But yeah, I would have loved to have him walk into the house with that thing on the wall. That would be something. So
wear it backwards.
That Simpsons thing where he hangs the hat, picks up the hat.
You got to wear it backwards. So it's right at the front. You don't even have to turn around.
Just for nothing else. The airport.
Why is your car running? Oh, this is. I figured I'd have to drop you right back off. If for nothing else, if you guys actually like the Wednesday show, you like the Wednesday crew. If you want to see me with clothes that are washed and dried and looking non-disheveled, please start bidding, because my wife had me go through and bid on so much crap that if nobody else bids, I might not be able to afford rent. So please outbid me, because it was one of those things where like, oh, that's nice. And like, because you don't have to pay, it was very easy just to put, bid on this, bid on this, bid on this. And then I'm looking, I'm like, if we win everything, I'm probably going to float the Jamie Carragher 23andMe Foundation or whatever for another year. Is
I'm going to be, I know where you live, so the collections department can knock on the door. Wanted to go back to this. Like I say, it is 1,200 right now. Let me share this. And because it was 1175. Looks like a couple of hours ago, we had an FSG out donation, and you know what? I'm against the whole FSG out thing, but hey, if you're gonna donate money under it, go for it. But yes, that's how we are at 1,200. So I'm assuming let's get back to the news and all that kind of stuff. The FSG.
One more thing. Maybe we should change the heading and just be like, this is actually a petition for FSG out. Throw it up on. Throw it up on X.
Like number 6 funds, CDM fund. What the sad thing is though? I mean, we joke, but that is actually kind of sad that I know for a fact, and actually Daz, who showed up, who joined the show with the Austin gang and stuff like that, and has been like a great supporter of the site and the podcast. And we were talking, when I was setting up the fundraiser and talking to him and stuff like that, when I tried to drum up interest, if you will, I was talking to him, and we both said, and I told him, and he's like, sadly, that's true. If I started a fund and a GoFundMe to sign a number 6, I think we would have a lot more than 1,200, and it would be a lot easier than what we're trying to do now. So let's not go there. Let's do this. Let's donate funds, because it is probably true that if we said, hey, if you donate, we're signing Zubimendi or something like that, people would be all over that thing. But the FSG out crowd is out and running around, mainly because of the whole Zubimendi thing. I know where Gordo is going to go, but I don't know where John is going to go. Let's start with John.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at with the whole Zubimendi thing? Is it because, okay, let me ask you this way, because obviously, we fell and we still feel we need somebody for that spot. I'm assuming if we're looking to spend 50 million, the club thought we need somebody for that spot. We don't buy just to buy, right? Mm-hmm. But I guess the biggest discussion, not the I was gonna say argument, but the discussion we had on Discord was like, is it like embarrassing for the club, or is it just like regular transfer business, etc.? Where you at with it?
A little bit of both, but I would say I'm more annoyed that I think Kazi touched on this with the Monday show about the lateness of the whole thing. Granted, there were tournaments and all that, but you can't tell me that you didn't have a plan B, C, D, E. Like, you can't assume that everything is a done deal where you have a prime target here, and what if it doesn't work out? There's always the supreme possibility it doesn't work out. So you mean to tell me you don't have a plan B? Like right now, with everything that we've seen, everything that we've heard, it's Zubimendi and then who else? That goalkeeper. So what is this going to be a 17-18 situation where we didn't get Virgil during the summer, so we just stick with the CBs that we have and kind of flounder below that top 4 spot until we finally get him in January? It's looking like it. Like I said, like around a month ago in the show, I thought that we will not be making any signings, and I really hope to be wrong. But at this point, it looks like if we're going to be getting someone, it might be some kind of a panic buy unless Zubimendi somehow changes his mind. But something
Arthur
like
is
that.
still out there.
Sorry?
I mean, Arthur is probably still out there somewhere.
Yeah, Arthur is probably out there. We can just get him for getting... And that reminds me, like, you guys remember the shithole that was that window? We desperately needed a midfielder with Thiago being injury-prone, Henderson not being who he once was, Fabinho not being who he once was, and we left it late. We got someone who played 48 minutes. So, I don't know, like... Granted, Edwards and Hughes weren't there, but then at the end of the day, I'm slightly disappointed as to why, knowing that we got these gentlemen, especially Edwards, because of his foresight, because of his know-how in managing these markets, how we look painfully out of ideas for such a crucial position, right? Like, just disappointment. But then at the end of the day, I feel like my expectations for this season aren't as high. So I might be willing to give us a little bit of a pass for it, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not expecting us to win or challenge for the league seriously. My prediction for this year is a top 4 finish, so I'm a little bit less critical of it, but that doesn't excuse it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so let me play the devil's advocate on this, because I'm going to have to do that a lot this morning. It's sounding like, okay,
Right.
If I understand the plan B, plan C stuff, but I kind of like this. What if the club is, and I think that's where we're at. I assume, I hope that, we really want somebody. It's like you really want a girl, like, you're in love, Gordo. You're going after the girl you're in love with. If it doesn't pan out, you're not like, I guess I'll just stay to her, right? And I just take it as that, like you're happy with where you are, and then you fall in love with the CDM. You're like, oh, Zubi, he's so dreamy. And then you go after him. It doesn't pan out. And I don't know if he just used it to get something more out of Real Sociedad, or this is a dude that just does not want to leave. It is what it is. Maybe we shouldn't have gone after somebody who's not dating. That's, you can argue that, right? But at the same time,
it's so weird because he had a release clause.
Didn't pan out. You don't just like start like, oh well. I mean, that because especially now, if we go sign somebody the next day, that screams to the world, and this is our backup option, kind of a thing.
Yeah, but you can argue that with like the midfielder, every midfielder that we bought after the Caicedo deal went through. Mm-hmm. Like and look at how those panned out, So I guess there is a thought to devil's advocate there. It's just one of those things where, like Zubimendi, the last 2 transfer windows has kind of showed the world that like it's going to be really hard to pry him away from Real Sociedad. I mean, he didn't even want to talk to Bayern. Arsenal came through, started to sniff around. It seemed like there may have been some talks, but they were shut down. And a lot of people were like, well, why didn't you learn from that? And it's like, why? He's got a release clause, right? So like maybe he might not be dating, but like his Facebook profile says complicated, right? So like, why not give it a go? So that one puzzled me. I think it hurts more, and I think why we see like there's so much like now it's upheaval of like people that were kind of calm even last week that are like now kind of annoyed is because of all the talk everyone, the entire fan base did in March or April, whenever we announced that Edwards was coming back and it was bringing a team with him. And we were all like, oh, this is going to be great. This is the best back office we could possibly ask for. We've got a brand new manager. He's going to be given the war chest. We're going to go after whoever we want. We're going to, take the transfer market by storm. And now we are basically the most inept team right now in the transfer window with who we all thought was the strongest back office for transfers. And so it feels like a double whammy because it feels like we've been bamboozled, and that doesn't sit right.
We kind of did that to ourselves. It's not like they told us that. We kind of assumed.
Yeah, but the track record. I mean, how can you, like, what else are we going to, they never came out and said, hey, we're going to have a pretty light season. It sounded as though, there was no rumblings from the club that it wasn't going to be we're going to, supply Slot with whatever he wanted, whatever he needed, whatever roles we need to fill. We're going to give him the strongest team ever because we have a fantastic foundation. And I know there was like discussion in the Discord today saying like we had a great team last year. Yeah, but like what was good yesterday isn't good enough today. And it is a great foundation, but we had the opportunity this transfer window to build on a really good foundation that Klopp left us. He didn't leave the club disheveled. This was a team that came very close to pushing for 4 trophies last year and fell just short. Just short is a new center back that is not injury prone, a 6 and maybe one other attacking option. And we got none of them.
And I think like the thing about last year, and this is why I'm torn about expectations for this year. I mean, I did my homer pick, but aside from that, I worry about the we just catch lightning in a bottle. Like, you threw the kids out there and they were like ridiculous and stuff like that. Does that happen again? I mean, there were so many things that do we do it again? Is the problem. Like, does those people who kind of like did a lot better than we thought do it again? But at the same time, this is what I keep going back to. We didn't have anybody who had like a really exceptional season. Maybe if you get a couple of like good seasons from a couple of your key players, can go a long way. Where was this? So it just says this is on Slot. This is all on Edwards and Hughes. The fact that contract conversations haven't started with Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent tells us everything we need to know. Yali says, why are people shocked that they haven't had negotiating with 2 players in their early 30s? Because I think, it goes back to what we bitch about all the time. You got to figure it out. If you're not going to re-sign them, if you're not going to sit down on the table and re-sign them, you got to sell them and you got to get something for them. And I think
they can't walk.
If you let 3 of your valuable assets leave for nothing, we're in deep shit next year. I realize the wage is clear and all that kind of stuff. So you get money that way. But it's not the same thing. I mean, we complain about how this was the issue in the past. And I understand what Sparky's saying, that no players is better than wrong player. But there has to be, I mean, it goes back to what you're saying, John. I'm sure there's a plan B, plan C, and plan D. But it feels like in the past, if plan A hasn't worked, we don't go to B and C. We just go to D, and then we get the invisible center back in Davies, or we get like Arthur or something. Yeah, they're like it's a body, like you just like throw them in there, kind of a thing. But we just skip to Plan D, and I respect it in some ways where
we don't settle. We don't settle.
Yeah, like you don't like this guy you wanted. You were willing to give 50. Yeah. And then you go around and like, damn it, that didn't happen. This guy is 45, but I really don't want him. And then, you just go spend 45 on him. I understand why that would not be a thing. Sparky says, and I agree with this, John should be happy with no signings. His favorite Thursday player.
I was like, I was about to go like, wait a minute, that's a good point.
but like that analogy though, like that, we'll keep on with the dating profile, with the going from A to D.
Hey, at least it's not eating this time, so let's go with this.
But that's fine, when you're in your early 20s. But soon,
right.
Soon you're Matthew McConaughey going, I keep getting older, girls stay the same age. It's like, when Virgil van Dijk goes for free, Salah goes for free, Trent walks for free, and we didn't sign anyone to replace them or play with them this season. If that is the thought, right? If they sat down and went, you know what, Virg, you're kind of at the end of your like playing cycle. We don't think that your value that we'd sign you for is going to be worth your output over the next couple of years. We're probably going to let you go. We're going to bring in like a Calafiori or somebody to play next to you. Yeah. This season, get his feet under the Slot system with somebody who's a veteran who will, bring him through, and then he walks. And now we have a replacement that's already in the team. Like, think about next year. If we don't sign anybody this summer, and we've got 3 contracts expiring, and then we need to fill all their places because we don't have who can you point to that would fit in like first team right now?
To be fair, though, if your job came to you right now and be like, hey man, you're gone at the end of the year, but Joe over here, he would love to learn. If you want to train him, you're not going to really be like, come here, Joe. Let me show you around.
The players aren't dumb, though. So, but you have to bring in somebody. They'd figure it out.
You could argue that they were grooming Konate for that before he kind of fell off. right, in terms of his production and in terms of being healthy enough to do so. So that kind of just screams, hey, we need another guy here.
What did you make of Van Dijk's comments, John? Speaking of Van Dijk and transfers and together.
Needed. This is a guy who just knows the reality of it all, because as good and memorable what the last season was for us, at the end of the day, we didn't get over the line. And for these players who play at the top level, it's all about winning. It's all about the trophies. We didn't win, right? So coming in with the same group and thinking that any outcome is going to be different regardless of a systemic change is insanity. So he's just using common sense, in my opinion. Like, hey, we need.
But do you take it as him saying, like, his resigning? I mean, people took that as his resigning hinges on like what we do in the off season. Is that how you read what he said?
I feel like he's just taking it day by day in terms of his contract. I feel like his emphasis was primarily what's going to be going on the pitch. I don't know, because I'm personally not the best reader of between the lines kind of stuff and what he's trying to say. I looked at it from a very straightforward point of view. This is a guy who's saying that what we had last year wasn't enough, and it wasn't, so we need to add to that. That's how I saw it. Like, whether he meant something else, I don't know. But all things considered, he's right. And how many days is it left until the start of the season? Just 3 more days.
3 freaking days, people.
Let's go.
I guess in some ways, in some ways, like, yeah, once the games start, maybe we can actually start talking about soccer and stuff again. I don't disagree with him. I don't like that message from the club captain. Doesn't help the coach, in my opinion, says Gally. It doesn't. But then this is where I always go back to, like, damned if you do, damned if you don't with players. If they just told the company line, we're like, you're just giving us vanilla stuff. If he's honest, then,
Yeah, with Henderson, they were saying, like, of course Henderson won't speak up because they're going to get someone who's going to replace him right away. Right, with a midfield. So
the guy that's coming in is to replace Hendo. Yeah,
But I feel like this is the problem too with this Verge comment is this is not the first like unrest that he's made. Right after Klopp left, he's like, "Well, we'll see. I don't really know if I want to be," like that kind of thing. That was in March or April, and then. Right after the Euros when they crashed out. Now, granted, I think we all give him a pass because they kind of shoved the mic in his face right after he ends up getting knocked out. So you can kind of argue that. And then this is now the third thing that he said that's kind of like, I'm not really happy with where the club's at or where the club's going. And it's like 3 in a row, like the big comments. And that doesn't sit well with me either. Especially because he's captain.
I think that's why it was an odd choice, because he's all but has been that kind of guy. He's never like a put the company line guy. He's never been really, even in the past. He's never been. So that's why it was like an odd choice to make him captain. It's like have him listen to that, because what's coming. He's going to say basically, like, he's going to be honest and give you what he thinks. And in this case, I mean, here's the thing. Maybe, it kind of like shows that not everybody is on the same page, or maybe John, like, Verge is not being on the same page, because Verge is like, I mean, he says he knows, because he almost said like, there are things in the works kind of a thing is the way he put it. So, the club is working on it kind of a thing. So he knows there's going to be some stuff happening, or some stuff is going to eventually happen. I think he was more like, let's get this done. The season is starting.
I think it's also kind of leadership styles. And whether you like it or not, it's kind of a take it or leave it kind of deal. Because we could be a Stevie where he's just, whatever happens, I'm just going to trooper over it. Like, I'm just going to keep going regardless of whether I have a weak squad or a decent squad or something. And this is like his way of kind of, this is his leadership style. Of course, there are flaws. There's no perfect leader, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's just a matter of preference. Like Gally's saying here that he wasn't his first choice to be named captain. That's fair, right? I think that he's just saying it as it is, and I respect it, right? So at the end of the day, I feel like it's whoever what leadership style you prefer as a fan. Whether it could be disruptive, yes, but as with anything, there's always a flip side. Like, maybe it can get the club, could give them the good kick in the ass to try and get some players. Whereas on the flip side, if he doesn't say anything, maybe the club will just fall into this well of contentment, right? It's like two different avenues with two different outcomes, or it could be good, it could be bad. So let's see what happens. I mean,
it could be just echoing what people are saying in the locker room.
Yeah,
he's speaking for the people, like,
exactly.
for the other players. So.
I mean, Tim, if you were and this goes for you too, Gordon, if you were a player in that locker room and we fell flat as we did last year, we kind of ran out of gas. I mean, there's no way in hell you would think that the club is enough, that what we have is enough, right?
Okay, let me counter that with Sparky's comments. If we had won 2 or 3 trophies last season instead of just a single one, and we could have, would you be happy with the existing squad because we were only a few games away from winning everything last season? And I'm assuming this is because, especially if you're a player, like going back to your question, if you're a player, I am maybe thinking in the locker room, well, this system will kind of like help us. I mean, if it is like, I mean, it could be a thought I'm saying, that's not necessarily what they're thinking, but hey, the system kind of will enable us to kind of sustain this and not wear down as we go.
That's the only thing that I'm kind of banking on, because I did mention it a few podcasts ago. This system seems more sustainable in terms of keeping our guys healthy, in terms of recycling the ball and keeping players not overexerting themselves. That's what I'm kind of hoping for. But the 2-3 trophies last season, you could clearly see that we were sort of riding our luck sometimes. Like, even though that we won against Chelsea, there were like 1 or 2 chances where we were like, any other day that hits the back of the net and everything. It's kind of swings and roundabouts kind of deal. Like, if you could argue with Sparky's point, like 2 or 3 moments, we wouldn't even be in that position. The glass half empty perspective.
Yes.
So it depends on perspective. I'm looking at it from a positive standpoint. I think we're still going to finish in top 4 and all that, but I don't think we're going to be even close to 2 to 3 trophies last season, simply because of a shift in regime and because of an integration in a new style, and the fact that our closest rivals are way deeper into their development cycles, that we stand no chance against them, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much everybody has improved, and but our improvement will have to be organic or by the system and stuff like that. And with the new manager / coach, and with the Euros and stuff, I don't know. Gal says if Club's voice didn't let him get them to sign players, I can't see Van Dijk swaying this management team. I think at the same time, though, here's my thing. As a captain, sometimes, and I know, like, this is like, I guess this is like, are you the captain of the players? And that's more like the senior, like the senior captains kind of a thing, where they echo the voice of the locker room. But those guys just do it in some ways, behind the scenes. They don't, do it to a microphone. But Gordo, like, as a captain, there are times where you say something that maybe is not great to hear by others, the powers that be, but you're kind of echoing what all the other players are thinking, saying. And as a captain, if you do not do that, I mean, I have been in that situation where if you do not do that, then the guys are like, well, then what kind of a captain are you? You're not my captain, kind of a thing, because you're not really passing out, our concerns. I want my captain to kind of voice that, maybe not to a microphone, more behind the scenes.
100%.
You know what I mean?
That is, a true leader does the dirty work in private. True leader never puts the team's dirty laundry out for everyone to see. A true leader does work. And he doesn't make those, he doesn't whitewash everything when he's talking to his managers on behalf of the players. He doesn't, whitewash things when he's talking to ownership. He should be making those comments in an office behind closed doors, just one-on-one, saying, this is what everyone's saying. We better get our shit together, or we're going to, the thought process is going downhill in the locker room. You don't come out and say it to the fans. Now, the fans, he has to know, too, that the fans aren't dumb, right? We're a pretty intelligent fan base. I mean, the amount of clubs and players and teams that come out, they'll say it too. They'll say, they playing at Anfield is special because the fans reward the small things always, because it's
understand the game.
It's a super intelligent fan base. And so, he has to understand that the fans see through it. but he has to stand behind the club because he is the face of the club. And you don't say things like, I fully trust. There's ways that you can kind of bounce around. You can be political about it. You have a team designed for those public media relations, and they will tell you the right things to say to bounce questions around. He doesn't have to do that himself. He can have somebody write that. He should be doing the dirty work. He should be saying those things. He should be saying maybe vile things to the transfer market at this point, but he has to be honest, but he does that in private. That's a true captain, a true manager does that.
Yeah. And that's why I don't know if it was like the ideal person for this, but I don't know who the ideal person was to put above him, I guess, in that sense. But you got to kind of put the company line, at least when the microphone is in front of you, and kind of like show unity and stuff like that. So if you're putting doubts out there, it doesn't help the situation. Whatever you're doing, it doesn't help the situation, because it's not like Edwards turns off the TV and gets on the phone and has to sign somebody right away to make you happy.
Yeah, but then he's always kind of been like this, so I guess he's just sticking with his guns. Like I applaud the authenticity, but I do agree with Gordon. There is a happy medium here. Like, he is right, but then at the end of the day, the way that he went about it can be better. Although Trevor makes a good counterpoint here. Like, what if Virgil did go to management with the concerns and everything and got dismissed or ignored, and this is the only way for him to kind of put
in a transfer request.
Yeah. I mean, how is this really helping? Even if that was the case, and he's like, you just made it worse. If you thought this was going to be the way to do it, I think you just made it worse, especially if you're already taking it. And I think sometimes, like everything he says, because, it's not like people dissect everything he says after a game or something like that. But, this is the transfer. They're like asking him, so he's going to say it. Like, kind of like when they shut the microphone on him after he played like 85,000 minutes and lost the fucking game.
Right.
That they probably shouldn't have. And he's going to be like, this life sucks. And they're like, he says life sucks. So I think that's kind of like the ordeal. So I get that. Yeah. I mean, I would have rather have him just say like, they do their thing. What we have to do is focus on getting better on the training pitch, slot system, blah, blah, blah. And that will be it. It will be blah, blah, blah. But that's why, I don't listen very carefully to these interviews to see if like he's going to say anything. But okay, so speaking of Galley's breaking up, the other news is we're signing a goalkeeper, a much needed position over here. But I mean, it's kind of like smart business for the long term. Oh man, I had his
okay, so this is the point though, right? This is the signing I'm talking about. If they are planning on letting Verge and Mo and Trent leave, this is the kind of business you do.
Yes, right, exactly. So maybe we're about to sign an extension for those guys, Gordo. You can look at it that way. And Alisson is heading to Saudi Arabia in 2 years.
I don't know why you said when we're about to sign an extension, and then it just dawned on me. Wait, so we're not giving Alisson an extension? And my stomach just dropped.
I'm assuming after seeing the Ederson ordeal, or I mean, here's another thing: you get Mamardashvili from Georgia, and I mean, he was the goalie of the season in La Liga last year, playing for Valencia, which is a good ordeal. And then you get to see him in the Premier League and see what the hell he does, maybe, and make your decision that way. I mean, he was really sought after, and I think it shows a lot that he's willing to do this ordeal. First of all.
Yeah.
So I think it's like a good move for the long run. The timing is bad, right? Like if the Zubimendi thing was done, Gordo, and then this got announced, we were like, see, this team is planning ahead. Because that fell through, and you can argue why it fell through, but because it fell through, this is like, what are we doing over here? And it kind of like gets people riled up even more.
Yeah. My guess is that this was already planned, right? Yeah. This was going to be a 1-2 punch. We'll get Zubimendi out of the way, then we'll bring in Mashmadali. And it didn't pan out that way. So now it looks like this is here's a goalkeeper, but you won't see him. He's going to be behind the scenes. Like, it just, I don't think they're that bad at public relations that they'd be like, here you go, guys. I think this was already planned. This was already in the works, and the Zubimendi didn't work out, and now it kind of looks like a piecemeal deal for the fans to be like, well, we did sign somebody, like you get all those panels where like we didn't sign anybody. Well, actually, we did. He's not gonna play for us. Yeah. Fact check in the bottom. We did actually.
We actually did.
We have a lot of Reddit.
I think it's kind of like a good ordeal. Like I say, I mean, it's a good concept and smart move. And, especially if we're going to be approached kind of like, I mean, let's face it, City was like, now what if Ederson deal like went through? I'm sure they were going to get a ton of money to go get somebody, but still, this is kind of your insurance. But more importantly, man, the goalie thing is a scary concept, right? So this is a good way to see what you're going to be getting in the Premier League and stuff like that. And because changing goalies is a lot different than changing right backs and stuff like that, because it affects every freaking thing. I mean, it affects the entire back line and stuff. Like we talked about this in the past. It changes the whole mentality. Having Ali in the back as opposed to, I mean, I love them as a person, but Mignolet in the back kind of a thing. It's just like a different mindset for the entire team. So I think it's a smart move for that sense. But yeah, I mean, so this is at least they're planning for Alisson's departure. We should have done this with Van Dijk and Mo, and we did not. Or we kind of did, and we thought Konate was Van Dijk, but that didn't pan out. And clearly, Van Dijk is now Mo. But I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Van Dijk is saying, nothing new to report. But he didn't unless I missed the code, he didn't say we're not talking at all.
Yeah.
Because somebody said in the comments earlier that they haven't started talking. I mean, there's no such thing that they haven't started talking. They definitely have not finalized it. The eve of the season beginning is going to be, John, where we announce all these extensions and stuff like that. Or is this going to keep dragging? Because in 3 days, we are freaking starting the season.
I hope it's not going to be dragging. I went through a absolutely awful contract situation with Klay Thompson the last month or so. So I can't stand losing Mo, losing Virgil, or losing just two of those four players. If we keep Trent or Mo or Trent and Virgil, any combination, I think Ali's gone. This move for this new goalkeeper just pretty much cements that Alisson's probably going to be moved on soon, which is already sad. But then another player outside from Alisson, I don't know if I could take it. Hopefully it doesn't drag like the Wijnaldum situation or the Matip situation or something, because with Wijnaldum, with Matip, they were great players, but these guys were the spine, still are the spine of our team, and they're still very good players. They're approaching the end of that plateau. They've probably plateaued and are probably going down, but they're still pretty great players. So FSG has always been, that kind of organization that keeps things under wraps. So I don't know, man. I'm kind of a loss for words, because the fact that, it just dawned on me with this goalkeeper signing that Alisson's going to be leaving. And then it just, like I told you, my stomach sank. So right now I'm just entertaining the notion of these players, the spine of our team, all leaving. And I don't know. The future doesn't seem as bright for me, because these are generational players with no replacement inside. So it makes me less positive for the future.
I mean, yeah, but it goes back to whoever you replace him with. And he's not going to be a replacement.
I guess.
Kind of With Ali, I think you have another 4 or 5 good seasons probably coming out of Ali, I would think, as a goalie. But like I say,
not with us.
If nothing else, if you have somebody who can replace it, if you had a really good center back right now, in the works or playing somewhere else, and you're like, oh, this kid is going to be the star, can't wait to have him rejoin us, if it was on loan, right? It would be a lot easier, one, to negotiate. We would freak out less, because we were like, well, we got that guy. If they don't sign him, it is what it is what we would say. It goes back to what you're saying, Gordo, in terms of preparing for this. So you prepare for this, so when they talk to Ali 2 years from now, when the same situation comes up, we're like, well, it is what it is. Or if they're selling him, they're like, that's fine, because we got that guy anyway, kind of a thing. Especially if he's playing well and starting from a Premier League team, it feels like, then it's like a no-brainer. And you might extend them, and goalies are always going to be expensive. You can, let's say Ali extends and is going to stay another 2-3 seasons, then you probably go sell this guy for 70-80 million at that point, because he's a successful starting goalie in the Premier League.
Well, I mean, that's the other facet of it, is if you don't give these guys, I mean, that you have to get replacements, right? Because Mo and Verge are at the end of their career, so they are going to eventually leave.
Yeah.
You just want to do it on your terms and probably at the highest value that you can. It's kind of like squeezing an orange. at some point you're squeezing pulp into the drink, and it's disgusting. You have to know when.
You're a no pulp guy, huh?
No, I'm no pulp. You have to squeeze
no pulp for me as
just
really
the right amount. Yeah,
just have a little pulp. It's kind of like gives the freshness. But go ahead. Okay.
No, but like, so you don't want them just to walk out the door, because those three guys, even Verge and Mo in their 30s, and Trent probably at the peak of his career in terms of like what he can offer. That's one really good guy and one decent guy, or three decent guys to replace anywhere in the squad. That's literally, you can go out and make those like for like transfers. You're never going to get a Mo. Verge is probably a generational center back, but there's nobody behind. And if you let him walk out the door, there's no. You lose three guys coming in, or you lose the money to fund three guys coming in as well. So whether or not you sign the extensions, and then you also sign somebody else. But here's the big thing: name a transfer window except for last summer, where we went and did 3-4 guys that are decent, that will immediately start in the starting lineup. We never do that. So if you let three go, the chances of buying three with no money incoming is almost nothing. And then we're in the wilderness again for another 2 or 3 years while we find replacements.
I think that was the problem. We had to do that because we didn't plan. I think if you're planning ahead, you don't have to do that. You shouldn't have to get 4 or 5 guys in the off season, because that means your other team was not all that in the first place. I think we're putting ourselves into a situation where you have to do it. Ideally, you should be adding. We didn't need to do that before, because you had a good squad, deep squad, and stuff like that, and not to mention Klopp liked having like smaller squads. But at the same time, I'll paint a rosy picture for you guys. You basically take Mo's wages, and do you let these guys play their last year? I just hate to let these guys walk for nothing. Whereas you can just get 100 or whatever for Mo, and then go get Gordon and stuff like that, and you just replace them, got younger. I mean, not replace them, because here's the thing: whoever you get, in the fans' eyes, and maybe even on the pitch is debatable in most cases, but definitely in the fans' eyes, you're not going to replace these guys. But at least with the money you get from them, now you go to the next offseason looking for 1 or 2 pieces as opposed to 6 pieces, an entire midfield, like you're saying we had to do last year. And I think maybe that was the shock last year, is that we were like, it's a brand new midfield, and we still did well, because we did not expect them to do well at all with so many new faces, because that's not as easy as it looks. John, do a forecast over here. No, I didn't ask the question yet. Do a forecast over here. Out of these 3, which ones resign?
Trent for sure. Virgil, but just a short-term deal, kind of like 1.5, 2 years kind of deal. Mo, I think we let Mo's contract run down.
I hear that, but I hear you.
Yeah, I think we do.
Alice, what do you have?
Yeah. Go ahead.
John,
you can finish your thought.
No. I was just gonna say that I think Allison's gone too. Like I said a few minutes ago.
Yes, I agree with you. I think, like Temujin said too, though, goalies can play a little bit longer, so you could it would be a safe re-signing in the sense that we're not going to see a huge dip in Allison's form, especially now that we know that we have somebody. Well, we don't. It's not official yet, but it looks like we have somebody incoming that could potentially, get 2 years of first team play to come in. So I think that would be a really safe and probably cheap re-signing for Allison, and let him go. And he's not going to. We're not going to get a whole lot for him elsewhere. If you're taking the emotion out of it, and the club is planning on letting all these 3 guys' contracts expire and all of them walk, you have to look at who's our most expensive piece. Well, if Mo goes to Saudi, that's Saudi money, which is usually on the high end. So I'd let Mo go. But if you're looking at globally, Trent's the piece that you move, because he'd get you the highest value. Now that is emotions removed. That's if they plan on letting all of them walk for free, then you look at the business sense and goes, who's the most expensive player, or who could we probably get the most for globally? And it would be Trent.
Football Flashback says, happy Wednesday. I was wondering how come you deleted the 24-hour pod. I'll tell you what. I found out that the internet did not expect our craziness. So I don't know if nobody has done this before or what, but The 24-hour thing, basically, it was uploaded, but YouTube could not. You can't handle the truth. I don't know what happened there. Like we did not delete it, but it's
too many
acceptable.
Americans.
Yeah, they couldn't handle it. And then like even in our recording system in like StreamYard, they were even like, "What? That's not even a thing," kind of a thing. That's not how any of this works, is what they told us as podcasters. So they actually only could record 10 hours of the show. On Facebook, I think they are still accessible. Even Facebook was like, "You guys are done, right? It's been like 8 freaking hours." And we're like, "Nope, we're still going," because Gally was constantly like having to refresh it every 8 hours for Facebook, because they were like, "Surely you guys are still not talking," is what Facebook was saying. But yeah. What did you read from Melissa already that worries me? The fact that we deleted the 24-hour pod.
Oh, damn, we're getting coverage now from Mel Reddy. That's nice.
I'm the crazy formation guy, but I want Trent as a right back, says Ryan. This is why you're my favorite, man. Yeah, Ryan, Trent as right back. How about them apples, John? Did you like Trent as right back?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was great.
Dude, you should be freaking happy. You should be like, my boy Gravenberg.
Exactly. I was about to get to that point. This is the happiest medium. Like, Trent excels at his position. Okay, no Trent to midfield. But Ryan Gravenberg there at midfield. Yeah, that's the best, happiest medium there. Shout out to my boy Gravenberg. Again, decent performance. That second double pivot midfielder against pretty decent opposition. Right? Sevilla is no laughing matter. They're a pretty solid team. So.
Yeah, I mean that I really think he is, and as they say, it's not easy finding somebody better than what we have, Gordo. So that's what happens when you're a good team.
I don't like that. Because here's the thing: is like we know from transfers, it's like even like. One of the things we do at American Scouser on the Discord is do our predictions, right? And there's a section. There's a section in there for best transfer and biggest flop for transfers. How many times have we seen a guy that on paper is like, this guy's going to be, fit the mold. This guy's going to light the Premier League on fire, and he does nothing. So like even the name sometimes is not enough. So you have to keep making these quote unquote gambles on players. And if you don't make any gambles, you don't put any money down, like Michael Jordan, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And so what happens if we do desperately need a defender? There is a 50-50 chance we buy somebody and he doesn't work out. And then you're stuck with him for whatever the contract is. You also lost the money for that transfer. So you have to keep making these plays. Look at Konate. They did expect him to be the next Verge. Now, if he stays he has no injuries this year and plays a full season, maybe he does start becoming the player that we saw in the World Cup for France, because I was really excited about that performance and I thought he could build on that and become the next Verge. But he didn't pan out because he is injury prone. And so like this year, yes, you don't have to make a lot of signings because the team definitely is a team that can compete. It's a starting 11 this is a starting 11 that could definitely make the top 4, but you have injuries.
Yep.
And also, it's just there's no meat on the bones. It feels like there's nobody behind. And if something, it's a season that we're hoping there's a lot of ifs that work out, and I'm not comfortable with that.
But I mean, it's that, like I say, I'm so torn on this theory. It could go really good. It could go downhill fast. Alan says, if Mamardashvili does come, where does that leave Kelleher? Well, I mean, he is coming and going. He's just driving by. He's a drive-by. He's just coming. We're just throwing his, like a sweater inside that has Liverpool on it, and he just keeps going to Bournemouth afterwards. But I don't know. I think Kelleher is leaving either way. If anything, this tells Kelleher, we don't think of you as a future number 1, right?
But he said that he wants first team football. He would rather leave. And like, this is why I'm saying this is great business, because you've got a player that seems in unrest that he's not getting full time. Mm-hmm. And this is a very unemotional team. Yes, he won us 3 trophies in shootouts. It's great for him. He's done us his service. But in the media, he's also said, I'd fancy a leave if I don't get first team football. So you fill the position. Yeah. All right, go if you want to go. You want to stay here and be backup for a great team? Go ahead. If you want to talk on the media saying that you're going to leave, go. We've got a backup for you.
Yeah, I think like he doesn't get as much shit for saying that because, he does have he does have done well, and then we're kind of like hoping that like he would stay, and then we would have a reliable backup. But I mean, it's kind of like hard to constantly have like a really reliable backup. This Richard Hughes made a signing for Bournemouth before he made a signing for us. Yeah, and I think this is a guy that they were gonna get to Bournemouth and do good. Richard said, do FSG have ambition? I think FSG is basically, I don't think it's a matter of ambition. I mean, I don't know what people take ambition as. People take ambition as going around on Chelsea. Chelsea has ambition, if you look at it that way, and it doesn't get you very far. United has had ambition for the last decade. That kind of ambition doesn't get you. You got to have smart ambition. It's like, going into a reckless tackle, just because you tackled hard doesn't mean you win the ball. You just get a red card like fucking United did. I'm a man of analogies this morning. Are you guys FSG in or out? And Sparky says FSG are a business. And I mean, to be fair, a smart business. I'll give them that.
Business.
So, in or out? Godo. Before we wrap up.
I look, track record. They made these guys, the back office. It looks like they strengthened the back office to give a brand new manager that I think we have all now thought, hey, this is a good guy. I think we're going to enjoy Slot. We've seen his preseason. I've seen his tactics. They look exciting, at least. And that's, kind of all you want out of a new guy. This season's going to be exciting. It's going to be flashy. I think we got the right players for it. And they bought him. And like I said, in March, April, May, when they announced that this was going to be our back office, I think everyone thought, hey, this is a great signing because of the track record. I don't think FSG can be blamed, also praised and blamed for the same appointment. To me, that doesn't make any sense. I think we all praised them they did the business. Klopp said he's leaving. They went right out to get the guys that said they were leaving when Klopp was staying. I thought everyone thought that was a good idea. And now that they haven't signed anybody, now that's FSG's fault. I think they brought him in. Now it's on Edwards. It really is. He's the one not doing the job. FSG bought him on the pretext of his previous track record with us, which was good. So I don't think you can blame FSG for this.
Not only can be FSG, I'm not even blaming Edwards for this, really. I mean, if this Women's thing was not even there, I think, people would not be as negative as they are now. If we said, no, we're staying put, Slot likes the squad, blah, 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 we'd be like, okay, we would have liked the 6, but whatever, you guys know best. And then we would just keep going. I think because of this ordeal because I think it tells the world, yeah, we think adding a guy like this would be good. So obviously it's a need, and then you don't get it done. I think it makes it look worse. So I'm like definitely in, just because of what they've had. I mean, Sir Z says we don't have to watch over our shoulders. Not only that, I mean, they're just smart. I mean, if you really want somebody who's going to be going around and spending gazillion dollars, then yeah, you probably have the wrong ownership. But if it's going to be spent well, where you have a consistently good team and a good club, I'm all for that. Where are you at?
FSG in terms of the pretense of running a football club the right legal way. Obviously, the right way is very subjective, but in terms of sticking by the rules that are applied by the powers that be, we've consistently tried our best to stay within these parameters, despite our rivals going above and beyond, just in their supreme arrogance, thinking that they're above everyone else. So I commend them for that. And despite working under these limitations, right, we've managed to consistently rank among the best teams of the league, even though we missed one season being in the Champions League, and we were still valued among the top 5 clubs in the world. So that kind of speaks as to how we are being run behind the scenes as well. And from a competitive standpoint, everyone says that Klopp won the biggest things, but only once. But we were always in the mix, which as a fan is as much as you could ask for. I remember it was Gordon who made this point a few shows ago that, if you gave a Liverpool fan 20 years ago this result, hey, you'd win one Premier League, one Champions League, but then you'd be seriously in the mix for multiple seasons, you'd take that all day long, despite all the heartbreak and the fact that we're going to lose our best. We've lost our best manager in the modern era. And we seem to have a great foundation and a great plan in place as to what's going to happen over the next few years. Can't really complain about that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. Consistency. If you're after consistency, that's it. If you're after, shopping, then, go to the mall. Would you guys be happy if we signed Mamardashvili and a good young Center back, says Darwin, as the summer transfer window. Yeah.
Is this a non?
Would you go into the season negative? Like I say, honestly, even if we got Zubimendi, I was going to go into the season the same way. Maybe a semi more confidence, because then it would be like, let's see if he fits and how he does in Premier League and stuff. I felt he fit everything we needed, but either way, I'm going to go to the season with like let's see what happens.
Should we predict the starting 11 on Saturday? No. I just realized, because this is
no, we shouldn't.
No, we shouldn't. Okay. No.
I mean, we can. We're gonna do it on Sunday. You would have to do it really quick, but mine would be. Well, I'll save mine for Friday, I guess. But I do think Van Dijk starts, Kwanzaa starts, Trent, Robertson, Ali in goal.
Oh, Robertson.
I think based on what I saw from Robertson in that behind closed doors game, I think he is good to go. He will be good to go.
A semi-fit Robertson looks better than
Costa. Yes, and that's maybe my thing too. Midfield will be Mac. No, you know what? Wait.
Come on, man! You just cut me mid-celebration.
I think so. It could be Mac, your boy, and Szoboszlai, and then Mo, Diaz, Jota up top. Yeah.
I think you.
But you could have Elliott and then put Szoboszlai back. So I'm not sure.
Szoboszlai Elliott is a good exchange of who do you think should be starting. But I'm gonna go slightly with Szoboszlai, and I'm going with your lineup. But
if Elliott is starting, that means your boy is not starting. Szoboszlai is playing where your boy plays.
Gravenberch all day long. Szoboszlai played the 10 most of preseason. If I'm
most of preseason, yeah.
So he's probably for that role. I would say same lineup as you, with the exception of Tsimikas for Rubble.
I think, and Galli's got my point there. I agree with Serzi's lineup with Allison, Trent, Kwanzaa, Virgil. I think I'd go Robertson over Costas, Maka, and I would do Jones simply because if you're going to compare, and I'm with Galli in the sense that it's either Jones or Gravenberch, I would give it to Jones just for the simple fact that he came back early. Gravenberch didn't kick a ball forever. He didn't touch a ball. He didn't play a minute for the Netherlands. He doesn't come back, and Jones comes back and says all the right things to the media, and I think you have to reward that. He didn't have a great preseason, but I think first game against Ipswich, I think you reward the commitment to coming back early and training with the team.
I don't know if you can slap out, hey, when I said position, I didn't mean your own personal goddamn position, pass the ball kind of a thing. That's what worries me about Jones is he's going to get caught on the ball. I thought Gravenberch did really well with that.
Yeah, my thing with that, although Gravenberch had limited time, I'd say he had a better preseason than Jones. So if we're talking about rewarding,
he was rested, maybe, Gordo. How about them apples?
Maybe
he took a proper vacation, rested. I'm just kidding.
His vacation was he got to go to Germany and just hang out in the hotel rooms. That was his vacation. He should have treated that. He had to go into the office for 90 minutes.
Basically, yeah. I work from home, but I got to go in the office every 3-4 days for an hour and a half. Yeah. Okay, well, I'll take your guys' predictions, and then the boys will be back tomorrow night, so they'll be doing it. By the way, I don't know if this is not getting a crossover here. This damn jersey is still $120 bucks, people. Let's wake up. McAllister's at 170. These should be going for a lot more than that. Andy Robertson is 110. You can buy a game-worn Costas jersey for that. So yeah, that should be definitely going for. They're all autographed by the players except the 701. That's by Jamie, obviously, but. Yeah, Jordan Henderson is 120. Come on, people.
The Robertson's the only one I didn't bet on. I actually have a signed Robertson jersey.
You might have been up. I have good news for you. You might have been up it on a couple of things. So.
Yeah, I think I was. I saw some emails come in as we were potting.
Only guy to be happy when he gets outbid. You're like, yes.
I want to walk away with something. I just didn't want everything.
Early predictions, score predictions. John, go.
3-1.
The special. I pulled it out. Right.
Yeah.
I think we go 4-1. I think it's Winter Wonderland. in the
I
summer.
like the confidence, but I think so too. I think so too. I mean, not to spoil, but it's only right that I start the season with my own special. So I'll go with the 3-1. Alan says 1-2, but we'll definitely talk a lot more about it Friday morning. By then, we'll probably have signed like 4 or 5 guys. Sparky's going with the 3-0. We'll have a brand new.
Can you imagine?
That would be interesting, right?
Can you imagine if we're sitting here like just eating our words? Is like, oh, this is the greatest transfer window we've ever had.
Edwards is God. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens by then. But the boys will be back tomorrow night. Pretty sure the fantasy nerds should be back too. Are you guys doing fantasy?
Yeah, Gravenberg is in my team.
Okay. So you're not doing fantasy. Gordon.
I don't understand why
how I do fantasy.
I don't understand how it's such a ridiculous notion. He is genuinely in contention to be that starting double pivot midfielder.
I can't do fantasy. I just it like confirms the fact that I know nothing about this sport when I do fantasy, so I try and avoid it.
I don't like fantasy because it's more about guess the lineup as opposed to actually it's not about. That's why it looks like that, Gordo, because to me it's not about like knowing the game and predicting stuff. It's more about guess the lineup is what happens. Until I'm boycotting the fantasy Premier League until they can do it where it's like football where you can change the lineup and the guy has announced that he's not going to freaking start. You can go in the game and change it, which I heard like it's 75 minutes now in the Premier League as well. So that should help the pre-matches. We're going to have the lineup 75 minutes before we start, similar to like the Champions League and stuff like that. Catching up with the world. Gally says, then join the head-to-head league, jerks. Yeah, I mean, but, John is in fantasy league as in, like, the fantasy of having Gravenberg play, but that's not what we're talking about over here. You took that whole wrong. Oh, yes, exactly. John is doing a different type of fantasy.
Didn't Sir Z put him as his starter? And you know what? Never mind.
All right, in that case, Darwin Núñez is going to win the Golden Boot then this year. If we're in John's fantasy land, Gravenberch plays 62 games this year.
Hey, to be fair, I said I would sell Darwin, but that's a different conversation.
Hey, Q code is right there. Go ahead and give it a scan. Give us a donation to the. Basically, everything is going to the Jamie Carragher's 23 Foundation. We're at 1,200. The 5,000 goal that's on there was more of like a cumulative goal, but we are hoping to reach 2 by the time. Basically, it ends on the 18th, so we are hoping to reach that by then. So go on in $1, $5, whatever you chip in, everything adds up. And then the boys will be back tomorrow night, like I said, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, and I'll be back Friday morning. We're not looking forward to that mess with those two crazies. Based on what I read in Discord, it might be harder than doing 24 goddamn hours. But we'll see how that goes. Have a great day, everybody, and we'll see you guys. Well, I'll see you guys on Friday. Take care.